Hi everyone, this is Isaac from Bible Bits here again. And today we're going to be continuing our series on Philippians by looking at Philippians chapter 3 verses 10 to 21. As usual, I'll give you guys a second to pause the video, so take as long as you need to go through the passage. Starting with verse 12, we're greeted with a picture of Paul striving. What's he striving for? Well, verses 11 and 12, read alongside one another, appear to suggest resurrection and perfection. Now this might get some of you guys to think, is Paul somehow advocating for a system of works-based salvation? Well, verse 16 reminds us that this is definitely not the case, because Paul has already attained these things in the sense that they have been secured for him in Christ's completed work. However, Paul is not at the finish line yet where he will receive his guaranteed perfection and resurrection. And so it comes as no surprise that Paul uses this imagery of a goal in a race within verse 14 to describe this idea of the Christian life being one of striving toward that which is secured in Christ. And so what does the striving actually entail? Well, verses 18 to 20 seem to talk about this walk of the Christian life in the context of living in accordance with the Christian's heavenly citizenship. If indeed the inevitable prize for the Christian is to be raised to life in a perfect body and to spend eternity with Christ in heaven, then we ought to be striving to live in line with this trajectory for our future. Rather than following in the footsteps of the world or setting our minds on earthly things, verse 17 reminds the believer to imitate the example of Paul and other mature Christians, to strive for perfection and for holiness in a manner consistent with the identity that we already hold as citizens of heaven. And so what does this passage actually mean for us? Well, undoubtedly one of the big takeaways is that we always have room to grow as a Christian. Paul, one of the most faithful followers of Jesus to ever live, himself never attained perfection in this life, but rather strived to be more holy and to be more like Jesus every day. To think that we'd ever reach a point where we can stop striving and say that we follow Jesus enough or that we love Jesus enough would be to miss the point of verse 15 entirely. And yet, on the flip side, for those of us who are genuinely striving to live in a way that pleases God and in a way that aligns with our heavenly citizenship, what an assurance and comfort it is to know that resurrection and perfection have indeed been secured for us through Christ. One day, we will indeed see him face to face, and he will grant us our perfected resurrection bodies, and we will sin no more. And now obviously this doesn't mean that you can just live half-heartedly for Jesus. Rather, as Christians, we ought to think about it this way. If in fact our eternal trajectory is toward this perfected resurrected body, why would we want to live in a way that is completely in contrast to that? Why would we want to entertain the flesh and to desire the things of the world when in fact our calling is a heavenly one? And so this begs the question to you guys today. Are you guys running the race well? Are you putting to death sin? Are you setting your mind on the things of above, living in a way that imitates Paul and other forefathers of the faith? Well, that's all the time we've got for today, but I hope that this passage has been an encouragement for you. For me, it's been a great reminder to be humble and to be persistent as I strive toward the goal that lies ahead. I hope to bring you my thoughts on chapter 4 shortly as we wrap up this series on Philippians. But until then, take care, and I hope to see you very soon.